very first Beers and Brooks Kid podcast. And today we're going to be asking some questions, doing a challenge, and making a big announcement. But you probably already know that from the last video. The big announcement is that Beers and Brooks Kids is up. Okay?
So what's Beards and Brooks Kids gonna be like?
Beards and Brooks Kids is gonna be basically Beards and Brooks with me and my brother and maybe my sister.
What are you guys gonna do?
We're gonna do this, and we also might tie some flies.
Okay. Do some fishing with me, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay.
And maybe some backpacking trips.
Cool. So
Okay.
what's on tap for the first episode?
I already explained that. We have a question and an
Okay,
answer.
so what are the questions? What's your first question?
What was your first fly?
My first fly
Yeah.
that I'd ever tied?
Just the first fly that you had that you remember.
Well, my dad always had flies around, and my mom. So I don't remember specifically what the first fly that I ever used was. I think the first fly I ever tied was probably either a Griffith's gnat or a woolly bugger. Probably one of the two. Probably about the same time I was tying both of them because they're both pretty simple. Yeah, we used a lot of humpies when I was a kid, so they're pretty complicated to tie.
Yeah.
So I didn't really tie them myself very often, but as far as fishing, we did mostly dry fly fishing. So a yellow humpy was always a go-to.
The second question is, what exactly is vinyl ribbing?
Vinyl ribbing? Why is it? That's just a
A random question.
random question about a fly tying material.
Just
Is that going to be a segment? It's just kind of like a rubbery, like string almost, but thicker, that you can do different flies with.
And just saying it's normally uses for beetles because of the little layering. Okay.
What, for the beetle's body?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, did you learn that about a specific fly, or that's just how you would use it?
I tied it for
Okay.
one fly.
All right, nice.
My third question is, what fly do you recommend for beginners?
I would like to to tie or to fish.
To tie.
Probably a woolly bugger is a good place to start.
Yeah, that's why I would say too.
Or when I got back into tying flies as an adult, I did a ton of zebra midges
Oh yeah.
because it's just like bead and wire and thread, and so
Yeah.
you can work on your whip finish and work on your thread wraps and that kind of stuff. So that's a good one too.
Why do you recommend that fly?
So zebra midge is a good one for a dry dropper, and it's simple. Woolly bugger is a good one to tie because it's got a couple materials, so but it's a bigger hook, so it's a lot easier. Zebra midge is kind of smaller, so sometimes that can be harder to do if you're just starting. And the great thing about a woolly bugger is you can catch bass on it, you can catch trout on it, you can catch
Everything.
carp on it, you can catch pretty much you name it, you can probably catch it on a
Except for
woolly bugger.
minnows.
Yeah. So
What is in your fly box? Just name a couple flies.
So my fly boxes are such a mess. Mine are not very organized.
Mine are actually pretty organized.
So that doesn't surprise me. I like simple kind of go-to flies. So I have a lot of what's called an X caddis, which is a simple dry fly that I like to tie. Yep,
Does it have X wings?
X caddis. No, it's just got like a elk-haired wing, but without the hackle.
Okay.
And it's got a little shuck on the back. I have quite a few sparkle duns and caparaduns, which are again a simple dry fly. lots of waltz worm is one of my favorite nymphs. Yeah, it doesn't even really look like a worm, but it kind of looks like a caddis or maybe a mayfly. I like Frenchies are another good one that are simple, like those kinds of things. So I like a lot of what they call guide flies, which are flies that you can tie pretty simply with simple materials, and you can crank out a bunch of them. If it gets too complex, I get either bored or frustrated. So I'd pick and choose when I'm tying complex ones like that.
Yeah.
Right now I have a ton of eggs in my fly box because it's kind of going to winter, and they like to munch on eggs during the winter.
And plus, why did you see a fly in winter?
Yes.
Not that the fish think.
So there's more midges in winter. They'll hatch throughout the winter. But you're right, a lot of the other bugs are kind of not doing much during the winter.
They're just either I'm kind of hibernating or
yeah. So they're on the bottom of the stream still, but they're not really doing any hatching or emerging or development during the winter.
Okay. What is the best fly in your fly box self-tied?
My best one, my most successful one?
Yeah, I think.
Probably. So there's a variation of a waltz worm that they call a sexy waltz. Sometimes fly names are not appropriate. It's kids only. But that's probably I can probably catch more fish on that than anything because it's just a good go-to dropper, dry dropper fly.
Why do people ruin fly tying by getting pre-cutted foam? Like with crabs, they get pre-cutted foam.
Man, that's a harsh ruin type. I think it's important to remember that everybody's fishing and tying experience is their own.
Okay.
So what might not be your jam, because you like to cut your own stuff out or design your own stuff, doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong for somebody else, right? It's not a moral right or wrong thing. It's just a preference on what you enjoy.
But why do people do that?
Probably because it's maybe is less frustrating, or it's simpler, or some people just like tools, so to have a tool that cuts out the things.
I can agree with.
Okay, yeah. So just like some people would never ever fish with somebody else's flies that they've tied. I fish with store-bought flies, just as much as I do my own flies. Because sometimes I either don't have the time, or I don't want to learn that new fly, or maybe it's too many materials, right? And I don't have the money to have a bajillion types of materials for every single fly under the sun. So that's where I kind of have the ones that I like and the materials for that one, and I tie them. But it's such a personal thing that everybody's kind of got their own jam.
What is a midge?
So a midge is it's a type of insect, and they tend to be small. Yeah, and so when you're
no-see-ums.
Yeah, kind of like that. So when
don't tie a tick.
Ticks don't like to be in the water, but I guess they could end up in there. They kind of look like a mosquito, but they don't bite. They don't sting or bite when they're adults. But when they're immature, they're under the water and they're super duper small, and they're super simple. They're just kind of thin, and so midge flies tend to be just super simple but super small. And
like that zebra midge.
Yeah, so that you could do a size 20 or size 22 or even size 26, little itty bitty
flies. Super tiny.
So I try to not fish midges very often because they're not super fun to tie on and to manage fishing, but sometimes, especially in the winter or on certain bodies of water, certain rivers and stuff like that, you kind of have to go to a midge. So a lot of times this time of year I'll do an egg and then another egg that's smaller, or I'll do an egg and then a little tiny midge behind it.
Okay.
Depending on how picky the fish are being.
Okay, now it's time for our challenge. Do. The challenge is, what can you make from anything inside of the house? Non-flying material, non-including hook, tools, hook, and thread.
So we can use our fly tying tools. We can use a hook and thread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wire wire does not count as a tool.
But then all the other stuff we tie has to be
From somewhere around the house.
Okay, so let's do 24 hours to gather our materials. And then are we going to tie the flies separately, or am I just tying the fly? Are we both tying the fly?
We're both tying the fly.
Okay, so why don't we do 24 hours to gather and tie our flies, and then we'll come back and we'll show what we got.
Maybe not 24 hours.
Okay, but we're going to take a little break to gather, and we'll be back. Cool?
3, 2, 1, pause.
A few moments later. All right, so I picked out my materials. I have some, what do they call these?
Pipe cleaner.
Pipe cleaners, orange and sparkly white. A orange rubber band, salmon rubber band, and a big old white craft bead. So, see what we come up with from that. Alright, so I went kind of egg, since we were talking about eggs earlier, and I ended up getting rid of the rubber band because it was covering up the eye of my hook. Maybe Liam wants to explain. Alright, so now Liam's up. He's going to show what he's going to come up with.
So back to this competition. I have this color thing from the pom-pom and this color thing from the pom-pom. And I also have a white pipe cleaner. Hashtag copycat. So I kind of went for a larva thing. Ended up with a little buddy. And today we have a very special guest. Owen! And it's a very nice time.
All right, so Owen's our judge today for our little impromptu flying competition, our fly tying competition. So I went with some pipe cleaners and a crafting bead, and I made a little egg-like pattern. I thought this might look like eggs floating down. It's got orange and a little bit of sparkle in there, and then the white looking egg.
I like it.
Okay.
But I just would like if you put a more what's it called again?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like add more stuff.
More materials?
Yeah, more materials. Because it was mostly just the orange and the bead.
Okay.
Mom, I'm going to review my fly. As you can see, kind of gave it a little fluffy butt. Fluffy butt. Be your titty. You might choose me just for that. I kind of went for a sparkly larva pattern. Not that that's actually a thing. This was a really, really hard decision, but I have to choose one, and that's all. What I really liked about Dad's fly is that he had to do something, and he did that. The thing that I liked about Liam's fly was he thought about a fly, and then he did that fly, and then he tied it like he wanted to. So there's one winner. That winner is Hallelujah! Hallelujah! I'm signing off for now. On episode 1. Come back on episode 2. Bye.